Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we in fact do have another sneak peek for you guys. And if you haven't already checked it out, I'm kind of giving it away. Big things are happening for Magneto, and I am super duper excited, and so should you. So this is the sneak peek that we got for Magneto. A lot of things are going on in this picture, so I want to talk about everything involved, but we can see absolutely for sure a new uniform, a new look for the Master of Magnetism is incoming. Now, if we take a closer look here on Twitter, we have the following post: targeting systems locked, mutant threat identified. Now, of course, this is not being spoken by Magneto. This is a third party speaking. And if you're familiar with the X-Men comics or animated show or even the movies, this is how the Sentinels talk. And you can see through a new perspective now when you look at the photo and you see the targeting system, you're looking at this through the eyes of a Sentinel. And of course, Magneto is charging up to attack the Sentinel, which is super cool. And it could have some additional clues for us coming later on in future sneak peeks. What's even more important is what we see on Mobirum. Now, we have the usual little bit here: the satellites detecting an immense magnetic force. Confirmed the source is Magneto preparing to go into battle, so we can confirm that he is battling something, probably a Sentinel. But then we have an additional clue at the bottom. The bottom, it says, we've analyzed the radar and found a cryptic code, something familiar. Now, if you look at the cryptic code and you zoom in, you can see in multiple locations the word T-3. So that is right, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting our first, hopefully, blast villain tier 3. Now, this is huge for many different reasons, but I want to start off by saying I am super hyped, and I would love for Magneto to become kind of the de facto tier 3 to kind of go alongside Captain America as the best tier 3 in the game. I really hope that they make him overpowered and they justify his strength, because he is one of the best X-Men characters of all time, and he definitely deserves his rightful place alongside the best of the best. He should not be a low-tier X-Men character. He should dominate pretty much everyone else short of Jean Grey, okay? But this does have a few different implications for the character. Now, of course, first and foremost, you have to start saving up biometrics for Magneto because of his uniform. Keep in mind that it's very easy to get up biometrics for Magneto because of his mission from the Epic Quest. If you haven't purchased that yet, what are you doing? Purchase it. I've told you guys many times to do that. The mutual enemy. It also helps you get Jean Grey, but you can get, about 20 bios, roughly 18 to 20 bios per day for Magneto, so you'll be able to farm it up very quickly. Keep in mind, because he's not a native tier 2 character, you can use uniform tickets on his uniform. So that's also a shortcut for those of you that want to drop some cash. You don't have to worry about saving up any biometrics of his. I know that he is a favorite for using biometrics to level up other characters to 70 because you can get so many of his bios, and, well, we never thought we were going to get a Magneto uniform. But here we are. So those are my tips for you for Magneto. Now, as far as the other in-game ramifications that this has. So first of all, I want to talk about the idea of a villain, a blast villain. So of course, a blast villain, for those of you that play competitively, I don't know, there isn't much competitive metagame in Marvel Future Fight, unfortunately, but for the few of you that do, you will immediately think of, when I say blast villain, you say Donkey Kong. No, you say Strife. So Strife, of course, is the #1 blast villain right now. He's scoring, 1 million or whatever more if someone's piloting your account who can actually play. And yeah, he's the #1. But with a tier 3 and a uniform, there's a pretty high chance that Magneto is going to take over for Strife. So I think there's a bittersweet component to this sneak peek, because I think some of the ultra whales and some of the salty boys and girls who just love to get high scores and then screenshot them and send them to their line groups and feel like they're big, will be kind of upset if they have to take all their hard work from a character like Strife and take their CTPs and slap them on good old Mags. Now, I don't really mind because I like Magneto more than Strife, but I just want to point that out, and it can have a bit of a negative impact because Netmarble has been known to take advantage of basically playing musical chairs with Extreme Alliance battle characters. You know, here is this really great combat character in Agent Venom, and then one update later, here's Wolverine, and then one update later, you know, something else happens, and they kind of just keep changing around who the top character is. Now, they've been a lot better about it this year. They haven't really tried, and they haven't pushed the power creep too much, and a lot of the same top dogs have remained top dogs. So, you know, Cable was pretty much top for Blast, and then he just got a uniform that just made him even more top. So it wasn't really like you had to build a whole new character. You just had to build out a new part of an existing character. So we'll have to see if this update has a lot of ABX changes. That could indicate that Netmarble is trying to get some of that sweet, sweet money out of you, which kind of sucks. But there's some additional information that I want to share with you guys. As far as Magneto goes, let's go back now to the uniform. Now, this look is very particular for Magneto. It is the black kind of sleeveless look. Now, this is the Marvel Now / Secret Wars look for Magneto. It actually looks exactly or almost exactly the same as his white look if you play Marvel Contest of Champions, the white Magneto, or the Marvel Now Magneto. But this black version in particular comes from, or at least originates from, a 2014 comic series called, ready for it, Magneto. I know, really unique name. Anyways, for those of you that even have a passing interest in comics, I do recommend that you read it. You can find it online for free. It's really well done. It's not a traditional comic book. The drawing style, like the art style, is different. And basically, the way that it starts, I don't want to spoil the ending, but the way that it starts, Magneto doesn't have his powers. But Magneto still has a lot of questions that he needs answered, and there's still bad guys out there. And Magneto basically has to take a new journey with the same kind of convictions that he has, but also with a different perspective, because he's not just flying around murdering people with his magnets and stuff and, you know, his powers. So it's actually really, really cool, and I do strongly recommend it. And it's a fairly short read. Like, there's not huge blocks of, there's some huge blocks of text, but you know, it's fairly straightforward. Additionally, some people did point this out to me during the live stream, and if you weren't there, you're a square. Does that make me old? Anyways, that it's possible with this run, this 2014 run, I don't want to spoil the ending, but essentially there is a possibility that they could construe, you could kind of get the impression from that run that Magneto's a hero. I know, it's a weird thing to say, but I don't think it's true. I mean, it's maybe for the comic, but for the game. Basically, what people were saying was because of that comic series, if the Netmarble devs read it kind of word for word and kind of interpret it literally, they may make this uniform a hero, a Blast hero uniform for Magneto. Now, that would kind of overwrite what I just said about Strife and about Netmarble trying to milk you for your money by constantly changing the ABX top dog. But I honestly do think it's a long shot, because Magneto is a great villain. He's known as a villain in the comics. He's one of the only villain X-Men or villain mutants that we have, and he's the guy that the X-Men fight. When everything's said and done, they fight two guys. They fight Apocalypse and they fight Magneto. So to change him into a hero when we already have so many freaking heroes in this game, seriously, this game is overrun with OP heroes and very few OP villains. It's high time that we get some badass uniforms for badass villains. You know, Thanos is there, Strife is there, but then it basically just drops off into hell. And we don't have very many dominant villains like we should. So, you know, Apocalypse deserves a uniform to make him a badass villain. Magneto definitely does. Ultron definitely does. There's a long list. But I'm just saying, I think it would be a huge mistake for Netmarble to do that, and I don't think they will. I have faith in Netmarble that they will keep Magneto as a villain. Now, in terms of what else we could get from this update, so the Marvel Now Magneto really touches on a lot of other characters. So again, it's a really long list. There's a lot of possibilities for uniforms as well. The Rogue one that I talked about is looking a little bit more likely, but even more than that is the idea of Sentinels. And I think it's a really cool idea that Netmarble should definitely explore, whether they make the Sentinels a world boss, whether they make a whole new game mode where you're just fighting Sentinels, like a wave mode where you fight, you know, one weak Sentinel and then it keeps going. By stage 10, you're fighting a tier 2 Sentinel. By stage 20, you're fighting a tier 3 Sentinel, and then 2 tier 3 Sentinels, and so on. They could have different powers. Some of them could fly around. Some of them could be stationary, like, Sentry guns, and it could be really cool. And on top of that, if you guys remember from my first video with Gambit, you're gonna go watch it now again and give me some double ad revenue. That video, don't do that. I don't want you to do that. That video referenced the Chinese link that said something about Gambit and Sentry. But some people have speculated, or I don't know, I don't speak Chinese. This is kind of where my knowledge ends here, students, that it's not actually Sentry, but it's Sentinel. So it's a possibility that we misinterpreted or mistranslated Sentry, and it's actually Sentinel. And that could be a really big deal, because this could be just a completely focused around the X-Men update. There could be no Superman in this update, which probably means no Hyperion rework either. Cue all the people in the comments complaining, I'm going to uninstall the game, blah, 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 where's Hyperion, yada, 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 even though they're free-to-play players and they don't even have Hyperion. So anyways, I just wanted to pass that on to you guys, and I want to say, without going too crazy into speculation, that I would love any kind of game mode. Of course, I get real hard when we talk about Marvel Future Fight game modes, but anything also X-Men / Sentinel themed would get me double hard. And there's only one thing better than double hard, and I don't know what that is. So let me know what you guys think of Magneto and this huge revelation about the first tier 3 villain, the first or second tier 3 X-Men, and possibly a whole bunch of other stuff that is super cool. And holy crap, I love the X-Men. I cannot stop saying X-Men. Subscribe if you enjoyed the content and you want to support me. Hit the bell if you don't want to miss any of my X-Men content. And of course, if you like what you X-Men, I hope to X-Men you again tomorrow. X-Men.